maybe the first one wasn't, um, you know what I'm saying? Maybe it's still doing double.
Well, we're
Okay, give me,
live, so if you want to go out and come back in, that's fine. Hold on one second. I
yeah.
do see these twice. Let me disconnect the second one because I don't know.
Okay,
I don't.
okay, I'll do that right now.
You want to remove both and just come back in, okay?
2 minutes is up.
Hey y'all! Forgive the delay. Tresa is reconnecting herself. Um, to make sure that the audio is correct. Tressa, you keep adding to the stream from 2 different devices. It's adding you twice.
Oh. Okay, let me
Oh,
come out
no.
of this one.
Do you still hear echo?
Yeah, but the one with
That's
my daughter's computer, I
that's
wanted to use that.
that's because you keep
But
trying to add yourself twice. So just only click the link from one device.
okay, I'm gonna only do it from my phone then.
We are live. You know, technology is great until it doesn't do what you want it to do, and then you be like, technology, why are you acting like that? Thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. Um, Give me 1 second, y'all. Hold on 1 second.
I no longer hear echo.
Um, it's still showing that you're trying to connect from 2 devices, but I'm gonna just go ahead and move forward.
Oh,
Did
I
you,
don't know why.
did you close the other device you tried to connect from?
Yes, it's totally closed.
Oh,
You know what? But I tried from this one, so maybe it's because thinking I'm doing it twice from this one. I'm just gonna come off, close this out, and right back.
hold on 1 second. Do you
I-
hear the echo?
yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's because it has you as trying to connect from 2 different devices.
And that's crazy because now the only thing I'm on is my phone.
I don't
So
hear
I'm
that,
gonna come out.
so I don't know why you hear it on yours, but that's the only thing I can think
Okay.
of. But we're at 8,
Okay, hold on.
so I'm gonna go ahead and just start the conversation while you figure out on
And
your.
I'll be right back in. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So y'all, Tressa and I are trying to have a conversation with you all together. I'm not sure why it has her getting an echo on her end. But I am going to introduce myself, and when she comes back in, have her introduce herself and why we decided to do this series. We're not going to hold you long tonight, but we want to give y'all a juicy, yummy conversation about why it's important to get past old programming, old ideologies, and things that put your body in a chronic state of guilt and shame. So, we want to break this conversation up in a way that is palpable, that really allows you to digest it well, because I'm very aware that this is an intimate conversation. This is an intimate conversation, And it's not an easy conversation for people to have. It's not always comfortable for people to have it. So we're going to start tonight with defining what it is we mean by sacred sexuality, what that definition is, what that means. And we're going to then, in part 2, expand upon how do you step into the practice of it. And then by conversation 3, we'll be really cracking you open and having the higher level conversations. So again, tonight is about what is sacred sexuality. Tomorrow's going to be about why is your sexual health important? And then we're going to get into how do you improve your sexual health, where we will discuss practical application, right? So I got into this conversation earlier in my life than I would want my daughter to. I'll tell you that much. Because I was young when my sexual power was awakening, and I was beginning to wrestle with what I had been taught versus, there we go. Just wipe your lens,
Yeah.
sis. Don't worry. Just wipe the air grease. You know how we are with all our hair products. Just wipe the lens. We should be good.
Okay.
Just showing one account now.
Is that better?
Much better. There we go. Because they need to see all this beauty you bring in, Tresa. They need to see all of this. We got big hair for you.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I just introduced myself and the topics of our live streams and explained how in my youth I was wrestling with the what was awakening in my body versus what I was being taught, right? Because I grew up Seventh-day Adventist in a very conservative denomination of Christianity. And, you know, I was not successful with resisting temptation as I was taught to. Oh, I was tempted so well. I used to lie to my mama and tell her I was staying after school for the Bible club, and that is not what I was doing. God help my soul. I was walking across the street to my little boyfriend's house, who was double jointed and African. See, that's when my African love from the start. It started very early in my life. And after receiving all that joy in my body and pleasure and all of that, I would have so much guilt and shame afterwards because I thought God hated me for what I was doing with my body. And I thought I was on my way to hell because that's what I was being taught, that if you are not married, you are not right with God. And so I want to really unpack some of this. So before we get into it more deeply, now that you're here, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves to the listeners and those who are here live and catching the replay. Tell them who you are and why we're even having this conversation.
My name is Tresa, and I'm with Radical Transformation with you. And I found myself in the same place as Thema, because I was very, very much into the Bible, very, very much into it. And I used to, so you can't have two masters. You got to choose God or man. So maybe 6 months a year, not like 6 straight months, but half the year I'm with Juice, the other half the year I'm with man. And I was just wrestling, always feeling,
You was a good sinner.
Yeah.
Only half the year, though. Only half the year.
Only half the year, though. That's what I'm talking about. Like, but it may not have been consecutive, but always these moments, like I'm just crying and I'm pleading with God, help me. And the other part was just like, I'm like you, like, and then I had all these, you shouldn't do stuff, you can't do stuff. And I became one of those really, really critical, judgmental Christians. The part of my body that knew something was, that it was more important, and that wasn't it, would never die. It wasn't gonna go nowhere, because really it shouldn't have anywhere. And so I'm just wrestling with that on and off. And so yeah, Q. And then I began to work with women. and talk about sensually empowered woman and all of those things. And so all of this had, like, I had to grow to be able to understand what I'm even talking about. So
Mhm.
this is kind of why we here, because this is part of my journey.
Yeah.
And thank you for inviting me.
Well, girl, we sisters. This is what we do. We are always
Yeah.
going to come together and give the women an opportunity to learn more, empower themselves, and enjoy their bodies and their lives. So,
Yeah.
of course. So, y'all, Tresa and I met. God, how many years has it been now? We met a few years ago at an event that was being hosted, and she was one of the women holding me up in the air, teaching me that there were women in my life who could hold me up. You remember that? And ever since that
Um,
moment, we have been joined together. And then she became a certified womb sauna practitioner. She invited me and the womb sauna team out to Detroit to bring the pot to the sisters when she was there. I have been every time you ask me to support so retreat, it's a yes for me. So I've been able to support the Sensually Empowered Women's Retreat. Has it been 3 years now that I've come?
this is the third. Yes, this is the
The
third year. You
third
can.
year, so
Well,
I've
this
been
year you'll be in person.
Yeah, this is
Yes.
yeah, I'll be able to join you all in person who are coming to Phoenix, Arizona. Make sure that you are there. It is almost full, actually. So you need to go ahead,
Yes.
get in there, and we're going to give you all those details as well. So let's get into our topic of defining what is sacred sexuality. If I'm honest, and I am, I'm rigorous,
Always.
which is why I get in trouble and hurt people's feelings sometimes because I am so honest, and raw and unfiltered, but it is part of what makes me polarizing and powerful. So I don't apologize for it, although I do tell you to prepare yourself. If I'm honest, I was sinning when I was in my youth and initially developing sexually. And why do I say that? Well, because of my definition of sin. I don't know what yours
Mine.
is.
Ooh, I love it. Right. Shame. Mine
But
is shame. Like you.
my definition of shame, my definition of sin
Yes. It's
is
shame.
to not see yourself correctly, to not see yourself as God sees you.
Mm-hmm,
And for
mm-hmm.
any person, no matter what age you are, no matter what spiritual practice you are, I'm an ordained interfaith minister. So I speak many languages, and I do believe in the diversity of God and the omnipresence of God. You can find God everywhere all the time, not just in one particular space and one particular philosophy. God is actually omnipresent. And so no matter what your spiritual context is, at the bottom of it, if you do not hold the correct self-concept, you will walk yourself into condemnation and judgment.
Ooh,
You're,
Tama, that's good.
I'm walking heavy now. I know it may seem like a light subject, but this is a very serious subject for me.
Yes.
I am a priestess of the high orders when it comes to sensuality and sexuality. And I'll expand on that more as we continue this conversation. So, yeah, if I reflect and I'm honest with myself, I was sinning because I didn't start my sexuality with the correct self-perception. And so that made me participate in things that were beneath my value. Sure did. It did have me sacrificing wisdom and knowledge because I didn't know what I didn't know at that time. But when I began to know who I really am in my core,
Mm-hmm.
and when I began to see myself the way God sees me, it empowered my sex life. Come on in, Tresa. Come on in.
I
And I'm sorry,
know,
y'all.
child.
So I hear the squeaking and stuff. I
Look,
wanted to keep up.
look, I'm jumping
Ooh,
like a little
it's
kid.
gonna get good tonight. Come on in.
I love what you said, because it is up to how it's up to us. And then I use the word shame because sin for me became shame because every time I done it, or every time I did it, I felt like there was just this guilt, like something was wrong with me. It was part of it was because, and that led me to also, and or maybe I could say that led me to, or because I was already in a certain concept or state of mind that you talked about, that made me choose the wrong kind of partners anyway. The kind that did not did but at the same time, because where I was, water reaches its own level. So I should say we both was in a state of a space where it really couldn't be sacred, because we was out there first of all trying to perform for each other, and I was doing it under the guilt of shame, like this is wrong, this is bad. Also, I feel like because I had some, and another level for me was sexual abuse. It was like all of these different layers. Like I didn't know myself, because to me, when you have a sacred, like you owning your sovereignty, your autonomy, and all of these things are part of it for me when I think about it. And when you're not capable yet of owning that, it
Mm,
just it's a different, it's a different experience. Because
yeah.
sovereignty also, autonomy is like asking for what you want. I didn't know how to ask for what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes I was just asking for what I could ask for, because what I thought I needed was somebody to make me feel better in the body, and not really um, hold me up in any other kind of way, like mentally and emotionally. They didn't have it. I didn't have it.
Mm. So y'all put in the comment section if you can relate to that, because I wish, Tresa, that when I was a young girl, that instead of the conversation being fear based and telling me not to explore my body and do certain things in my body because I was going to go to hell or I wasn't going to be right with God, I wish instead they would have just told me, you don't know enough about yourself to be participating in these types of things. I don't think you
That's
are
it.
emotionally ready for the responsibility of this. Right? Because even with my daughter, even though she's very young, she's 8 years old, every time she has a growth spurt, she begins to want to explore her body. And instead of bringing shame or fear to her, I told her, your body does belong to you. And there are different things that you're going to enjoy as you grow up and begin to explore your body. But
Mhm.
be very aware that you're not going to be fully prepared for the full experience of this until you know more about yourself.
Mhm.
And until you know more about who you really are, you shouldn't give yourself away. You know, that's the foundation I'm giving her to in terms of like her sexual development as a young girl, because at some point, and I've told my daughter, you are beautiful and you are powerful and you are the daughter of Thema, S8xuality. So at some point, there will be an invitation, a request, a demand for access to you. And it is my job as your mother to teach you how to decide who gets access to the treasure
Yeah.
that you are. When you mention the shame, I think that's important because wherever there is self judgment and shame, it's going to invoke punishment. So your
Oh,
whole
yeah.
perception of God and what you are worthy of and what you deserve, everything is energy. Put that in the comment section. Everything is energy. Everything is vibrational. And so when you reside in shame and self-judgment, it only makes the temptation to sin or to be a mismatch to the truth about how God feels about you. It makes it louder. And so most people think the shame came first before the dissatisfying experience or the toxic lover or any of that. I'm telling you,
Mhm.
the shame is the fruit of you not knowing who you truly are. It is
Mhm.
poor self concept that ushers in shame. So let's talk about the transition because I went from being super religious like you. I was the one in high school and college telling my friends to keep their knees closed. It ain't worth it. All of that. I was quoting scriptures. If you ask any people I grew up with, they was like, "Yeah, girl, was you the tamer y'all have today?" Did not exist. I'm telling you, I was a different breed then. I was super religious. All I listened to was gospel music. I remember at my first marriage, you know how at the reception, usually that's the turn up time. I had them playing Fred Hammond, Kirk Frank. Like I was, when I tell you, super religious, believe it or not. I'm fascinated with how I arrived where I am. So anyway, because I'm different. What changed me was divorce. Divorce taught me that the template I had about love and relationships and my sexuality did not work. Because in my mind, at that time, with my first marriage, my marriage was a ministry. You know, we weren't successful with resisting temptation before marriage, but we did our best. Okay, we really did, and we was
Mhm.
fasting and praying. We got rebaptized together. You know, it was all the holy stuff, right? Just for me to find him in women's DMs sending pictures of lingerie, just for me to fall asleep. I literally would physically fall asleep during sex. I literally have made a vow before marrying him. I had my first experience. I was celibate for 5 years. And then I said, the next man I will be intimate with will be my husband. And I kept that vow that I thought I was making to God. I really believe God needed me to do that. I really believe God needed me to abstain in order for me to be righteous. And so I'm following all of these rules just to get married, just to constantly be living in an energy with a man who felt like he was not man enough for me. And so then he
Mm.
to go find a woman that he felt he could be man enough for, right? And I ain't even mad at him because as I look back at it, the truth is we were not a vibrational match. I am very, very vast, big energy.
Mhm.
And so to keep, the conversation flowing, when we separated, I made a vow to myself that I was going to break the rules. I remember that conversation with God. I said, you know what, God, I followed all your damn rules. I was cussing because I'm a cussing minister. I said, I followed all your effing rules and they ain't work out for my life. And this is the first time in my life that I have ever felt the emotion of not feeling good enough. And I'm going to do what I want to do to figure out what actually works for my life. And I had printed out all these affirmations and I had taped them to my wall. I called it my affirmation wall. And I was pouring back into myself after a man that I trusted with all of my body, my heart, and my soul declared war on me because he was not happy with himself. And it led us straight on to divorce court. So that opportunity, I began to say something. I began to say, the brothers are coming. And you was there, Tresa, when I first started affirming this. And my Facebook group, Let the Womb Be Heard, where we have over 2,000 women, that group was birthed out of the time period in my life where I was going through my divorce and I needed a safe space to express myself because by that time I was a public figure and there was a lot of judgment about me going through a divorce as a minister. That was tough too. So I'm in Let the Womb Be Heard, having the conversations women are scared to have. And then I remember I went to a business network meeting and I met a man. Ooh, God. Mm. How many of you ever met that man that just changes the trajectory of your life? What I accept before him was no longer acceptable. I went home, and by that time, Zah's father was already a part of my life. I went home and told him another man has come. And you got about 6 months to tell me why I should invest anything else here. So anyway, opening the way to rebel, and I call it a sacred rebellion, created space for me to see that God loved me truly as I am. And that the body I had and the things that my body was enjoying, God designed it to enjoy these things.
Mhm.
So instead of resisting my sexuality, I became curious about what being sexual meant and how God would participate in that. I started reading Song of Solomon. And I said, if Solomon can get it like that, I think I can too. It's in the Bible. So when my holy Bible thumpers come for me, I will be like, you ain't read the Song of Solomon, chapter 6, verse 14. I'm supposed to have them on their knees. So that was my transition into really beginning to define what sacred sexuality looked like. And the first man who I felt compelled to pray with as I was climaxing told me that there is a priest here in this bed with me who is helping me heal trauma and move what I thought was sin out of my body. He is saying things to me that only God and I have talked about, and something about this experience feels holy. And it was in that moment that I found God in my flesh, and some of the best sermons I have ever heard were on my back. And I knew that God was truly omnipresent everywhere, all the time, including my bed. So, Tresa, what was your moment recognizing that
Oh,
shame is no longer needed and that this is actually very sacred?
I because I was thinking about that. So I was start at this place. I was still married, and
Okay.
I was watching like my sister, and at the time, there was a young lady who was a little bit older than my son, and she was dating him. Even when they broke up, we remained friends, and they would be talking about all these sex toys, all this different stuff, and they kind of made me inquisitive. But I realized it was something that was already there, and so I'm going somewhere with this. So when I begin to let myself truly understand, because even when I think back, it's not that I never ever wanted what you say, be a streetwalker, but at the same time, there was something about them that fascinated me. And I think at the end of the day, it was because they owned what they own. Like, this is mine, I can do what I want with it. And because when I began to start accepting those pieces about myself, it led me on. It took a while though, because I was probably in my mid 50s or something like that.
Mhm.
I'll never forget it. I met this guy.
Oh, he got you giggling.
And he used to say, "Don't sleep." And he was kind of tall. He wasn't. I won't say he was fat, but he was kind of heavy set. And so, because I was also kind of self righteous too, I was working out really a lot then. And I was like, "Well, you need to take care of yourself. You don't take care of yourself. I want a man that want to take care of himself because something happened." Blah 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 blah. And he used to tell me, "Don't sleep on the big guys." That's all he would say, baby.
He told you right.
He'll never lie. Not only did he not lie, he was the first man that I ever, like, I had oral sex and stuff like that, but that I
Mhm.
had a vaginal orgasm. And I learned how to work my body and what I could do. And I remember him saying, because he had been in the war before and he couldn't sleep at night. And he said, whenever you're in my bed, I sleep all night. I never have a nightmare. And I began to understand the power of healing and the things that could happen that could be a part of that whole experience. And I remember, and I remember like, I guess some would call it using sex magic, but I don't think in that sense I was, well, I guess in a way, but I remember writing him and saying, I love you. But I said in my mind, he never knew. All of a sudden, he screamed. He said, I feel like my soul is coming up out of my body. Get off of me.
Find out Tressa is a soul snatcher. Come on, that's my new
I
nickname.
was and I was like, oh my God. So I really began to understand that it's a way that we can also heal each other, bring love. Love can be in the experience. And I think the most important thing I begin to understand when sex is sacred is because you're not performing. You feel so safe with the person that you're with. You don't have to perform. He doesn't have to perform. You both learn what it is you need, you want, you learn to ask for it. He don't like it, you don't like it, or whatever. But I think that's one of the most important things that make me really think about that is no more performing. You get to be yourself. You get to say,
Yeah,
this is what I like and don't.
yeah. What you're literally describing is surrender. And there can be no full expression of pleasure without surrender. What makes
Yes.
orgasm so potent and powerful is you lose all control over your body. And this energy is moving. Sex is one of the most powerful forces that God created. Like God made it. So let's be very clear about that. And it is one of the primary forces that gets human beings here, the act of sex. And so to learn the sacred principles of it and how to incorporate it as part of your self-care routine. Studies have
Yes.
shown, and master teacher Susan Weed, she's probably in her 80s now. She's written many books. One of her books is called Down There. And she talks about the medical studies that showed that women who get a minimum of 7 orgasms a week have lower incidence of dementia, arthritis, heart disease. So I told my mom, I said, I don't care if you're 67 and I don't care how you get there. Just get there if you can, because I'm going to need you to get 7 a week. Do you need me to buy you something to help you get there? Because I see that the cartilage is going away in your knees. I can tell you ain't been on your knees. I'm going to need you to live long and prosper. Why did God design it this way if it wasn't a God thing? Because
Right.
what I did learn growing up is that death was not God's will or God's plan. So how is it that women and men who have poor sexual health have higher incidence of disease? Yeah, sexuality should be sacred. It is a God thing. God made it, and we should learn God's intention for it. And as an ordained interfaith minister, I've read other ancient texts that taught me things that Christianity and the Bible did not about sexuality. Simple questions I began to ask, like, well, if Adam and Eve were the first people, who taught them how to start making the babies? Like, how'd they know? Who taught them? It wasn't until I read the lost books of Adam and Eve that I was able to see, oh, that's how they found out how to make it do what it do. Right? Like, I had real questions and there are real answers. And the whole point of us going live with you all this evening is to encourage you to not be afraid to become more knowledgeable and masterful with your sexuality. I'm the kind of woman, and I teach this in my Power of Pleasure Masterclass, and Tresa knows because she's an alumni and repeat student of the process. But she knows I teach women the rituals, what your altar for your womb and your yoni should look like. How do you even prepare? I had some sisters who had some first time dates this weekend as they're wrapping up the process of Power Pleasure. And I told them, okay, let's hand walk through how you're going to spiritually prepare. I'm the woman that when a man asks me on the first day, he's texting me like, what are you over there doing? Your energy. And I'm like, baby, get ready. I told you, get ready for me. So I teach the women these things that maybe your mother and your aunties were too afraid to teach you because they had too much trauma and too much pain and wounding that came through their sex life. And so maybe all they could teach you was, please don't bring no babies home and please protect yourself because it ain't safe out here. But there is another teaching available to you to teach you God's original plan and how pleasure is sacred and how you can fill your body up with joy if you learn to treat it as such and not be afraid of your own body. And my teach that the definition of a climax is how much joy can you hold in your body. I am happiest when I'm busting. Sure am.
Yeah.
You can't steal that joy. You can't tell me nothing when I'm in that moment. That moment is so pure and so undisturbed. That's when all the portals are open and I'm able to pull down. There's been times I've sat on a man and got $20,000 from that amount of joy that I transferred through my body into my life.
Absolutely.
Sexuality can be sacred. And if you don't know anything about that, you should learn. You should begin to explore how to find God in your body. So much of what I was taught was to separate God from my body. But now I have found God in my flesh. I have integrated.
And it's such a beautiful thing.
So Tresa, when you come across in your work women who are afraid of this topic, of this kind of teaching and exploration. What do you say to them to help them relax and be more open?
Well, one of the things I would say, I don't really focus on so much the sexual part at first, because I keep trying to remind them pleasure is medicine, and so find ways to find joy. Sex is sacred, and it is one of the ways that we can bring joy into our life. But we can have all kind of ways that we bring joy, and I think a lot of those women don't know what it. They don't really even know what joy is, or have not truly experienced it. So they need to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And even, because they have to trust themselves. Sometimes they think it's the men they don't trust, but really you don't trust yourself. When you trust yourself, you know which man you're not gonna let, and if somebody starts to move too far, you could say stop. But when you don't trust yourself, or if you don't feel confident, they just walk all over you, and in the end, you feel like a victim. And so it's kind of like starting to work with those things. At first, you're not a victim, and it's such a beautiful experience. And I often tell them about my experience, because it really is like, I remember a couple years ago, this is no lie. And I done had so many sisters, because I had one friend, she was celibate for 10 years, then she might not be celibate for a couple years, then she's celibate for 10 years. Then I had another lady who was talking to me. She said she was in her 70s, and she was like, she had been celibate for all of this time. And I don't understand that, because I really want to have a conversation about that. That's another conversation. But trying to get these women to understand that they're not sacrificing to a God when they're a goddess.
Mm-hmm.
They are goddess. That's another thing for me, that what makes this sacred and in the body, is because when we understand that we're a goddess, that all of this is like, we get to define for ourselves what we want. And so I try to get them to understand who they are, and
No, that's
start with spaces
an
of
important point,
pleasure,
Tresa.
joy.
That's
Huh?
an important point that you bring up, because patriarchal culture has trained women to believe their body is for the service of men and their joy.
Yeah.
So a lot of women do have the incorrect context of their body and their sexuality, because they think it's reserved for servitude to a man and it's about pleasing him. I'm the type of woman that I'm gonna get mine. I hope you get yours. You know what I mean? If you don't, that's on you, because I definitely did not come into this experience to make sure you get yours. And what women who understand the divine order and the natural order, I like to tell women to tell men, my yoni goes in for a reason. Your anatomy comes out. What are you offering me? Because I'm the
Hmm.
I'm the receiver.
Right.
I am the holy cauldron that takes spirits, wrap them up in flesh, and put them on earth. What are you offering me, darling? If we're gonna go here, right? So I teach women these principles that you bring up, and it's important, because if you think your sexuality is only for the pleasure of men, no wonder you're not motivated to call in more joy in your body. So thank you for highlighting that, because I think it's an important point. So go ahead and finish saying what you be telling the women to keep them open.
I also feel like, and I talked to him about, like you talked about, when you, because sensuality goes with sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to have pleasure, one of the things I think women are sometimes, how you're scared of joy, you're scared of pleasure, you're
Mm-hmm.
scared of that whole experience, and it can lead to us keeping us from having the best sex life that we want to have. But I feel like also, and women need to understand that this is the part that if they could just learn how to taste, touch, use their senses to tap into different areas that brings them joy, they begin to um that becomes the pattern. That becomes the lifestyle. And
Yeah.
then they can begin to hold more and more and more. Because when you start talking about sacred sexuality and things like that, that is kind of like when you're starting to teach a baby to eat food. And so they're starting to grasp this, and then they get to a certain point, they can eat whole food.
Yeah.
Kind of like that with women. When they begin to learn to tap into different areas of using their senses, by the time they get to the thing that we're talking about, they had a capacity to hold it. Sometimes we get things that we're not ready for.
And that's why you got to get you a big thick one. Okay. So,
Somebody,
so look,
you know
so
what?
look, when you
Somebody
try
that
to
know
jump off
themselves.
of it, you like, you can't go nowhere.
Right, right, right. And here's the thing. And also, it's like, and that's a good point because I think that when you really trust yourself and and you find your joy, then you know what it looks like in that next person. So when that person comes, if you don't know yourself, you're trying to see if that person gonna bring you joy. But if you know yourself, you already know when he coming up there, whether he has something you can serve you or cannot serve you. My thing is, I think a lot of times we as women, we need to definitely make sure that we really start to really know ourselves. Otherwise, we expect the man to bring it to us, and that's not his job. That's not fair. Now, when I
And
say it's not his job, I'm talking about.
yeah,
Hmm?
defining you is not his job. I agree.
That's what I'm talking about. Right.
Mhm.
Definitely defining you. And when you can't tell him what you want, when you can't say, I want, it's something as simple as like, well, let's start here. When a woman can't tell a man, if he's like, well, what do you want to eat? And you're like, oh, I don't care, whatever you want, whatever. If that's going to be your conversation all the time, now sometimes it's okay.
Yeah.
But that speaks to me because you don't know what you like. So, okay, you can get whatever you want. If
Mm,
he, you know what I'm saying? So beginning to just take small steps to learn, like, what is it I want? Because sometimes that was me. I just didn't have any clue. And sometimes I had to start with the process of elimination. Well, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this.
yeah.
Well, maybe I like this. And
Yeah.
somewhere, start somewhere. But because
You
if you don't know, then you, hmm?
I said, no, I'm just
The,
saying, yeah, I'm your amen corner right now. I'm like, go ahead, girl, you preaching good. Go ahead.
or yeah, then you get upset because you feel like this man should be doing something. And we just have to remember we are very much all goddesses created from Mother Sophia and made in her image and likeness. And we're not her, but we're made there. And all that energy, creative energy, can be used in so many ways. And why not use it to create joy for yourself, pleasure for yourself?
Yeah, and I want to honor my biblical spiritual heritage because my favorite book of the Bible is Genesis. I like the beginning of things. And in Genesis chapter 1, it says, let us, we see the first intimate act between the Holy Mother and the Holy Father in Genesis 1:27, where he says, let us make male and female in our image. There was some intimacy there. So
Mm-hmm.
that was the divine reproductive act. And then when we get to Proverbs 8 in the Bible, it tells us who the feminine person was that he was talking to, who the female image is. And her name is Wisdom. And she says in Proverbs 8, I was the architect at his side. Now, Big Mama Wisdom got some swag in Proverbs 8. If y'all haven't read it, because she explains exactly who she is. She tells us that we are her children. And so as women, we have to just let our body be the sacred text. Your body tells you that you are the receiver. Desire is the seat of your feminine power. That's why it's important for you to know. If you notice when men enter your orbit, they're trying to figure out what you want. And like Tresa, as you said, if you don't know, then it displaces the natural order. And that's where manipulation and violation, all these different things,
Mm-hmm.
not your fault. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's unnatural as a woman to be walking through your life dissatisfied and never knowing what you truly want. That is not God's will for you. And even your anatomy teaches that you are supposed to have so much inside of you that it can feed and nurse the world, and it can offer milk and living waters and all kinds of wonderful things. We can transmute. There's been times that one of my husbands have come home angry from the stress of work, and depending on where I am vibrationally and how much capacity I'm willing to give and offer, I'll take all of that energy off of you and turn it into joy. This is a powerful experience. Being a woman is a powerful experience.
Mm-hmm.
A human being in my body? What? That's a God act. That's a God act. So it is important for us to recognize when we're having a conversation about sacred sexuality, which
Mm-hmm.
is different from perversion, which is very different from casual sex. I can't even have casual. Even my one night stands can't be casual because I'm not a casual woman. I am deep water, bottom of the ocean depth. So I'm not able to participate in superficial things. That's hence why I am what I seek. Hence why
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
crack priests, because I live and reside in my intimacy with God. My anointing oozes everywhere I am. It's not that when I decide to be sexual, all of a sudden I'm no longer holy. Like that, it doesn't make sense. But that's some of
Right.
the training that we were given. So my point is, stop looking at the physical sexual act as the totality of your sexuality. Like Tresa said,
Mm-hmm.
when you take that spoonful of honey and you drizzle it in your mouth because you love honey, and you're eating that piece of chocolate and it's melting from the warmth in your mouth, and you don't even realize you're doing it. You're going, yeah, baby, that's pleasure. That my foreplay with my lovers start before I even see them. If we
Right.
have scheduled time to get together on Saturday, the foreplay is usually starting on Monday. And I'm getting the text messages, or the flowers arrive and were delivered, and the chocolates are and the calls saying, "Oh, baby, the countdown! I can't wait to actually touch you." They start touching me before I even see them in person. Pleasure is all around you. That's why the flowers smell pleasant. That's why the sun
Yeah.
feels warm and good on your skin. That's so when we talk about sacred sexuality, we're talking about no longer feeling ashamed. We're talking about identifying God's original intention for what we do with our bodies to bring pleasure. We're talking about enhancing your senses and awareness and becoming more fully present to life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're talking about changing your language. We're talking about
Amen.
figuring out what colors look good on your body and what's the angle your back should be in, right? Like that's what we're talking about. And I'm hoping, Tessa, I don't know why I'm like this, but I love that I am.
Yes. Because you
I'm a
know
friend.
what? Even if whether you got on a pair of shorts and a t-shirt or lingerie, when you are in that energy, it all feels and looks the same. He like, come here. Because you are so confident and
It's
you
the
just,
energy.
it's
It
the
oozes.
energy of it.
I
It
walked through these
oozes.
dripping. I was at the traffic like 2 days ago when I was dropping off at summer camp. And this was last week, and I just really didn't have the energy to put anything decent on. So I put on like some oversized sweatpants, a t-shirt with no bra, and my hair bonnet was still. And I'm blasting my music. I was listening to that new Will Smith track, and I was like, "Oh, this is dope." And I looked to my left, and it was a truck of 3 Latin guys. There's in this big truck sitting high up in my car, and they were blowing kisses to me. And I was shocked. I was like, "I'm not even trying." And I look over, and it was like, "Hey, my meat." I was like, "Oh, me?" I was like, "Let me give it back." You know what I mean? Because if love is being served, I'm gonna receive it. And I was laughing. I was like, "I'm not even trying." I still probably had sleep crust on my eyes. Like I was like, "Really?" I didn't even brush my teeth, so I didn't roll the window down. But I'm just saying, like it.
Mhm.
To say what Trust is saying is true. Like, be that girl, and whatever has kept you from being her, examine that. And be willing to sacrifice what is robbing you of greater joy to make room to fully embody joy. Not just intellectually, emotionally, but allow your body to have the relief of having more joy in it. That is what we mean when we have the conversation with you about sacred sexuality. So if you have some questions, please post them in the comments. If this conversation was helpful and a blessing to you, then wait till we get to tomorrow because there's 2 more parts. All right. So tomorrow
Yeah.
p.m. at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be talking about why is sexual health important. And I kind of touched on it a little bit, but I really want people to begin to treat their sexual health the same way they treat their mental health, their, psychological health, their emotional health, their spiritual. Sexual health is a real thing, and we need to talk about
Yeah.
it. And we need to talk about sexual hygiene because that's important too. So that will be tomorrow's topic. And Tressa, before
Yeah.
to wrap up, can you please share the opportunity for them to attend our upcoming retreat? Can you share all the details and your vision and what is entailed?
Yes, thank you for that opportunity, Tama. So it's called Centrally Empowered Woman. This is the third retreat. It is a 4 day, 3 night. I think I got that right. 4 day, 3 night retreat. It is going to be in Arizona, October the 9th through the 13th. And my vision is that women would come together and have time, tools, and space to heal through adult play and pleasure. And
Wow.
so we have some amazing speakers, facilitators. Tamer will be there, and Maisha, M. Rain, Simi. We had a shaman last year. She's coming back to give women rights again. Um, and let's see who else. I know I'm missing some. We have a boudoir photo shoot that all the women, including the facilitators, get. And then we have a videographer this year because he'll be taking pictures. And there's a documentary coming out in 2025 called The Daring LaBelle. It is helping women to see themselves through the eyes of the camera. And so um, there is going to be sound baths, and we have in-house chef. We have two in-house chefs. They will be cooking for us. So everything is on ground. And we have a pajama party, a pool party, the teachers. I'm trying to think. Oh, the gift basket. Man, the gift bags. We have phenomenal gift bags. So I just want to tell y'all that. And so those are the type of things that we have. We have yoga. So I want y'all to join us because I'm sure I left something out. But we also have a host this year. So everybody's need you're going to be catered to because we feel like when you come, we want it to be all about you. And
Yeah.
again, we didn't have the first 2 years, the teachers and the facilitators, but Tamar and everybody will be on site this year. So we're going to have an
Woo.
amazing time.
Phoenix is ready. We all
Yeah.
gonna be on site. Oh my
Oh my
God.
God. And the resort. We have a resort so it's like 32 rooms. It is
Oh, I love
huge.
it.
Well,
I,
no, let me change that. It's 30, well, it sleeps 32 people, but it's a lot of rooms. So let me rephrase that. It sleeps 32 people. It is very huge. It is resort like. So they have basketball, tennis court, bacca. They have if you gamble and all that stuff, they have a space where there's gaming. They have a
this is
huge
sexy.
pool.
Sexy. This feels
Just
like foreplay, what you describing.
yes,
This feels
right. And then they have the hot tub. So you have all these things. And what we do, we set it up that the women get what they need, but at the same time, it's not like back. Women will have a chance to rest. They had a chance to talk to each other, laugh and joke until the next thing came around. So yeah, we are definitely looking forward to have an amazing time. And there is a payment plan. The whole price, if you want to pay for it at one time, is $25.99. But we do have a payment plan, and we do have a few slots left. So yeah, if
get
you're
in there.
interested,
How many slots
get
are left?
in here.
I'm saying how many slots are left?
5. I think it's like 5 slots.
And this is in October, so like
And this is in October. Yes. And we do have payment plans, Tamer. So we've had in the last week 3 women come forth.
yeah, we're going to have a wait list. So I just
Yes.
tell them the website to go to attend the retreat. Where they need to go to snag their spot?
Well, actually, right now, because of the payment plan, I've just been having them contact me and I send out an invoice because what we had on the website was the initial payment plan and it's so close to the date.
Yeah.
It allows them to, does that make sense?
Mhm.
The way it was set up, it had them allowed. Okay. Yeah, so they can reach me on Facebook as Tresa Simmons, or they can call me at 623-296-3557. Or
Okay.
they can email me at Tresa@sensuallyempoweredwoman.com.
Okay. All right. Hit her up.
Okay.
Essentiallyempoweredwoman.com. Put it in the subject. I need one of them 5 spots. Sign me up for the retreat. Give them the dates again. It's October what?
9th through the 13th. We have someone picking you up from the airport, dropping you back off at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
When I say
It's a
we are,
sexy.
this is your time. It's sacred. Yes, we're making it about you.
Well, I didn't say sacred. I said sexy. That's what I said. I just want to be
Oh, it's
clear.
sexy too.
But for
Girl,
me,
that
they're
too.
both synonyms. Synonyms. It's fine. So look, so listen,
Yes.
ladies, I cannot tell you how important it is to know where your soul and spirit can be fed and to feed it. Right. So if you resonate with our energy and if hearing about this event, it's going to be luxurious, it's going to be empowering, it is going to change your life, it's going to advance your perspective of yourself. And I'm gonna be there probably twerking, doing some cheek isolation. So if you've been trying to improve those skills, come, I'll help you as best as I can. So I do want to see you there, and I hope you're learning something new and you're laughing and feeling the lightheartedness and the joy that both Tresa and I live in every day because we live what we teach. And so
Yes.
the last thing I'm gonna put on your radar before we prepare to meet with you all tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on either YouTube or Facebook, wherever you are viewing us live. Um, Tressa harassed me to create a Power of Pleasure Part 2, like advanced curriculum that takes the women even. I mean, y'all, when I tell you she was calling me like, okay, Thema, listen. Y'all know how Tressa is when the download comes there. And I said, okay. And Tressa, what happened after that is women started reaching out to me for the very things we talked about should be in that part 2. And I said,
Mm.
okay, Holy Spirit, activate. Clearly, the women need this from me right now. So, if you have not had my 6-week immersion into the power of pleasure and you really resonate with this conversation, that program is open for enrollment. And when you enroll for part 1, I want you to know there is a part 2 coming of continued support,
Yes.
continued education. So you can access the details about my program at thewombsauna.com/programs. And you'll see information about our 1-year self-development program, and the Power Pleasure curriculum is a part of that. But if you scroll to the bottom and you just want to specifically know about Power Pleasure, you'll see the details to click on that if you just want that particular curriculum. But I do find that women who commit and focus on themselves for 1 year, they are a force to reckon with after that year. Powerful.
Yes.
So do consider getting everything that I teach, because everything that I teach will change your life and help you heal everything. All right. And if you have additional questions and you want to be able to ask your questions anonymously, you are welcome to call my team 24/7. We answer our phones. We are an international company, so we answer our phones 24/7 because we're in all time zones. And you can call 888-576-WOMB, which is 9662. So that's 888-576-9662. And you can let my team know that you have a personal question that you like to ask based on the live stream that we did this evening. And they will route you to me and I will answer your question.
Yes.
You need some privacy. All right. So we love you. We're glad that you came and
Yes. Thank you.
you tuned in to
Thanks,
spend
Tamer.
us. Tressa, I love how you have just continued to expand in your influence and your offerings and how you serve the people. You are an incredible soul. And anything I can do to support you, I always will. And I love you very much. And I ain't afraid to say it out loud in front of everybody. You know, so
I love you back.
you are my sister. And I love you, girl. So
I
I can't
love you back. Yes, yes. I know
grow.
we're about to end, but let me say this. These women are waiting. I just have to say this. I want to, they are waiting. They're talking about you. They keep talking about you. And so the first year, the second year, they're like, man, she read us. She knows what she talked about. I mean, they talk about you a lot. And
Wow.
so I am grateful for what you bring, not only to me, but to them. And honestly, I think a couple of them are coming back just because of you and them. I really do. And maybe Baisha.
Well, they're
Because
gonna be in for a treat because everybody you have lined up is an incredible. incredible power. I'm like, God, Tresa's putting us all under the same roof for 4 days and 3 nights. Did she tell the city?
Yeah,
I'm like, do we need a permit for this? Because I don't know if the ground is gonna be able to hold us the way we gonna
girl,
move.
it's so huge. Ooh, I can't wait. And do you see the waterfalls on the ground? Did you see the pictures yet? There's a
Yes,
waterfall that just get all these like a stream and stuff. Man, I'm so excited.
yeah.
So I don't want to take up no more anybody's time, but I'm telling y'all, the first year everybody came back with one person. The second year everybody's coming back with one person.
3 years
We
later,
doing it.
feel like I'm coming back.
Sisterhood.
There's literally only 5.
Sisterhood.
If y'all need this
Yeah.
press, if y'all need this reset, if y'all need more education about how to be sensually empowered, you need to be there. And if you need this luxury and all this fancy stuff that Tressa done put in here, then you need to be there to have that experience too. So we will see y'all tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Put it on your calendar. Come back to this page wherever you're streaming. You'll be able to see us streaming here again. And then also Tuesday will be the third part at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we will talk about how to improve your sexual health. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait to continue to see y'all
This
bloom.
conversation.
It's so worth it. So y'all have a good night. Peace.
Good night. Peace.